Hi everyone, we are on day 8 for 5th grade math. Um, so we're going to do a few problems together. We're going to go ahead and start on this page. Okay, I have it on my iPad, but you guys have this in front of you. Okay, they've already given 1 to us, so we're just going to move on to 2. So if you're looking at 2, we know that with a quadrilateral, a general quadrilateral has 4 sides and 4 angles. So looking at that, it has 4 sides and it has 4 angles, so it is a quadrilateral. So you would write quadrilateral. Okay? I would go step by step, move on. So the instructions say classify the quadrilateral in as many ways as possible. Write the quadrilateral, trapezoid, parallelogram, rectangle, rhombus, or square. So I'm going to go step by step until I find one that does not apply to that specific shape. And that means everything after it's not going to apply either, based on that chart or that Venn diagram we did on page, if I remember correctly, page 650. Okay, so going back, let's figure out what the classification, what it would need to be a trapezoid. So a trapezoid is a quadrilateral with at least one pair of parallel sides. So when you're looking at number 2, do you see parallel sides? I will hold mine up as well and show you. So this right here and this side are parallel. They're never going to end up touching. They're facing the same way. They're going the same way. This side and this side are parallel lines. So it has at least one. So it would also be a trapezoid. Right now, I already have these ones written down. Okay. And now the next shape is a parallelogram. So we need to figure out if this number 2 would be classified as a parallelogram. A parallelogram is a special trapezoid with opposite sides that are congruent and parallel. So what I've noticed with all these quadrilaterals is they have lines. Okay, if these lines, I just X'd out of it. If these lines are the same, okay, that means that they're congruent. They're the same. Okay, it says that the opposite sides are congruent. We're going to say that these opposite sides are congruent because all of these sides are congruent to each other. Okay, so it would also be a parallelogram. Okay, now we move on to the next one. So the next one is a rectangle. Now let's look at the classifications of a rectangle. Okay, it says that a rectangle, on page 649, it says a rectangle is a special parallelogram with 4 right angles and 4 pairs of perpendicular sides. So what we learned on angles, looking at this, they do not have right angles. As we know, right angles look like this, and you usually see that little square in that corner right there. Okay, that is not there. It's not present, so it would not be a rectangle. Now these last few are in a Venn diagram, so we do have to look at the other ones. So we will see if it would be a rhombus. So A rhombus is a special parallelogram with 4 congruent sides. So, remember I said it earlier that all of the sides are congruent. These lines indicate that all of them are the same length. All of them are the same. So it would be a rhombus. Okay? But now we need to figure out if it's a square. So you always want to check just to make sure if you're not positive. A square is a special parallelogram with 4 congruent sides and 4 right angles. We know it has 4 congruent sides. A rhombus has 4 congruent sides. But does it have right angles? It does not. We remember right angles look like this. It does not have that. It's not a right angle. For a little extra challenge for yourself, what kind of angles do they have? What kind of angles does number 2 have? Okay, let's see where we are. Let's go ahead and go down to number 6. So number 6, actually, let's do number 4. Let's do number 4. 4 looks a little crazy. Okay, I can't pull it up right now, so you're just gonna have to look at it. So we know it's gonna be a quadrilateral because of what we know about quadrilaterals. They have usually 4 sides. This one has 4 sides, so you would write quadrilateral. Okay, quadrilateral. Now, from what we know, with trapezoids, it should have at least one parallel pair, okay? Looking at it, from what we know from parallel lines, it does have at least one. It actually has 2 parallel lines. So it would be classified as a trapezoid as well. Then the next one's a parallelogram. Sorry, I lost my place. Parallelogram, the classification, it would have to have opposite sides that are congruent. Those lines are going to help you indicate if it's congruent on opposite sides. And they do have opposite sides that are congruent. So number 4 would also be classified as a parallelogram. Okay, so that's what we have. Now, the next part, we need to check. If it's not a rectangle, it could possibly be a rhombus, so we need to check those. So, knowing our classification for a rectangle is a special parallelogram with 4 right angles and 4 pairs of perpendicular sides. Looking at number 4, it has lines in those angles. Let me see if I can pull it up now. I restarted it. So it has those lines indicating the angles. And you can see that I was able to pull it up. So you can see that these lines are one. That means that those angles are the same. Just like these are the same and these are the same, right? That indicates that these ones are the same. But that's not a square, right? So it's not a right angle, so it can't be a rectangle. But now we need to check if it could be a rhombus. Rhombus is classified as a parallelogram with 4 congruent sides. So that means all of these sides would be the same. Okay? They're not the same. 2 are the same, and then the other 2 are the same. But it's not the same. They're not all the same. So it wouldn't be a rhombus. And since it's not a rectangle, it's not a rhombus, it can't be a square. If it was a square, it could be a rhombus or a rectangle or both, but it's not. Okay. So these are the only ones. Okay, we're going to do one more. Let's see, let's do 5. So 5 looks like this. If I can get it again, looks like that. Okay. So we know it has 4 sides, so we know that it can be a quadrilateral. So you would write quadrilateral. And then a trapezoid is classified as has at least one group of parallel lines. And it does. They're not the same size, but these are parallel lines. This one and this one are parallel lines. So it would also be a trapezoid. Now we need to check if it would be the next one, a parallelogram. Parallelogram has 2 sides that are parallel. That's not the case here. If we were to keep going with these 2 lines, we know that this line and this line are parallel, but if we keep going with this line and this line, they're going to end up crossing at some point, which parallel lines do not do that. So it would not be a parallelogram, which means it won't be any of the other ones. So these would be your answers. Okay, let's do one of the extended response together. I'm not going to write this down. We're just going to discuss it and talk about it. So let's look at number 8. Okay, so this is number 8. If a figure is a square, then it is a regular quadrilateral. Is this true or false? So if you went back, when I do this kind of math, if I have my work in front of me, I can go back and review what I've already done, and it can help me with what I've already done, with what I'm doing right now. So I personally would go back to that graph, to that work we did about the classifications on page 650 with the Venn diagram to figure that out. Square, we know what it means to be a square, that it would have 4 congruent sides and 4 right angles, and a quadrilateral is a general has 4 sides and 4 angles. So angles meaning that those lines are connected and it makes a shape. Okay. Is that true or false? It would be true. It would be true because all 4 angles and all 4 sides of the square are congruent. Okay. This means that the square is regular, so it's one of those shapes, okay, in that Venn diagram. Those are the regular shapes. It's regular and it's a quadrilateral. And you can also add to that you know that it's also a quadrilateral because it has 4 sides and it has angles. So for this one, you're classifying what makes it a square and what's making it a quadrilateral. Okay, so you will be doing that page for math work today and page 654, numbers 1 and 2. Okay, If you have any other questions, feel free to have your parents message me on Dojo. And it's also very helpful if your parents take a picture of that specific number so I can have it right in front of me if I don't have the work in front of me at the moment. And I hope this was helpful, and I miss all of you, and I know you guys are doing awesome. I know math can be frustrating, but I'm here for you. I understand, and I will see you guys later.